Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Brittany Carey. I am a life and health coach, and today we're going to be talking about being a mom with anxiety. And these tips are pretty much applicable if you want to apply them to depression as well. But lately I've just been feeling more anxiety than depression, so that's why I kind of geared it that way. But you can definitely try it if you have depression as well. This is the video that made me want to start YouTube, because I know it was something that I really wanted to find when I started on this journey. And I actually, before I did this video, I searched for videos that the video that I'm trying to create now. And I was just a little disappointed because I saw a lot of videos of like vlogs and day in the life with me as a mom with anxiety, which is so great, and I love that people are like telling their stories and everything. It's just the fact that, like, as a mom with anxiety, watching those do kind of bring me some kind of comfort, but they also make me feel like I have nowhere to go with this. I just have to deal with this for the rest of my life. And that was so sad because that's just not true. And if you get nothing else from this video, please understand that you don't have to live like this for the rest of your life if you don't want to. There is hope. You can get through this. You can handle this. You can tackle this head on. It's going to take a little bit of work, but I know that you can do this. It's possible because I have done it. I'm not trying to say I'm like the picture of overcoming anxiety, but I have learned so much since I started trying to better myself in this way, and that's why I'm making these videos. That's the only reason. I just want to help people as much as possible. So with all of that being said, I am a life and health coach. I am not a therapist. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychiatrist by any means. But I'm just kind of making these videos from personal experience and what I have learned over my journey. So without further ado, let's get this video started. Okay, so just to let you guys know, I do have some notes here because there's no way I'm going to remember all these tips off the top of my head. So you will see me looking down quite frequently. But the first tip that we're going to be talking about today is getting help. If you really feel like you have anxiety or depression, and if you're not diagnosed with those things, definitely go get help and talk about it with someone, even if it's just your therapist. It is very, very important. And if you have been diagnosed, I would keep trying the therapy thing. I know it could be a little discouraging if you maybe have been to a couple bad ones and you just don't feel like it's for you anymore. I am there right now, but it's definitely worth giving a shot, because you could probably lose like an hour and a half of your life, and it could be the thing that gets you through this journey. Now, even if you do try it and it's not for you, that's okay too. It's not for everybody. Every single person is different on this earth. And like me, maybe you just have had some bad experiences. You just don't feel like that's for you. That's totally acceptable too. But I definitely feel like it should be your first go-to if you feel like you have anxiety and or depression. If it's available. I know that it's hard, especially during these times, trying to find an hour and a half to yourself, or maybe the money to go to a therapist. But if you're able to, I would definitely suggest that right off the bat. The second tip is to take time for yourself. This is a lesson that I learned very early on in my motherhood journey, and even if you are a mom without anxiety, you still need to take time for yourself, because if you're pouring from an empty cup, that is just not good for anybody. And everyone can tell. You can tell it's going to take a really hard toll on you. And your kids, they're your world. So of course they're going to notice if something's a bit off with you. And for me personally, if I have like an hour a week by myself doing something that I need to do for me that only benefits me, I feel like I can take on the coming week so much better with such a more balanced head, much more stable head. And that is just so important. I know that we as mothers kind of like get lost in everything and forget that we're still our own person, and taking time for yourself kind of helps you regain that individuality, that you're not just a mom or a wife or an employee or a spouse. You're still a human being with your own wants and needs. And when it comes down to it, I feel like if you don't take the time for yourself, no one else is going to take the time to invest in you. So that's something that you have to make a priority, and you have to kind of take care of yourself. And even if you have to sacrifice some other things to make sure that you're taking care of yourself as well, I would definitely do that. I feel like we put ourselves on the back burner way too frequently until we are just overflowing, and that's not at a good point. I always try to make it a weekly thing, to have kind of an hour by myself, so I don't get to that point where I'm boiling over. I feel like 2 weeks is kind of my point. If I go like 2 weeks without having some kind of like woo-saw moment, then I just feel like I go a little like empty inside and kind of disingenuous to everything that I do. And while I would love to have a servant's heart and be very just helpful of everyone else, if I am empty, I kind of feel like I am doing it from not a good space, if that makes sense. I would rather do it when I feel fulfilled, so that I can give everyone the best of me. I don't just kind of like, 1 foot in, 1 foot out everything, because that's just not good for anybody. The next tip is to communicate. Communicate. That is probably like the number one thing that I have found in any relationship, when it comes to maintaining and building a strong relationship with someone, is to communicate. And especially if you have mental health issues, that's something that they're not going to realize unless you talk to them and put it in words for them. So if it's with your partner, your boss, your family members, especially your kids, I would definitely communicate. I tell my kids, I don't expect them to understand all of it. I don't want them to understand all of it. It's pretty dark and scary. But if I say something as simple as like, hey, you're making mom nervous, can you kind of settle down a little bit? Or, hey, I'm sorry, I had a bad day. I didn't mean to take it out on you. Or, hey, I'm sorry for yelling. It's just very important to communicate, especially with your kids, because I feel like my worst fear is my kids growing up and thinking that like yelling at them for asking for a snack is normal, because that's not normal. It's not their fault that they're hungry. It's my fault for not telling them, I feel nervous, I can't right now, just give me a minute. And for the most part, they're kind of understanding, and to be honest, they didn't really get it at first when I first started saying it. But after a while, they kind of understood, okay, if we give mom 30 seconds now, we can get what we want later. And now that they kind of understand that, all I have to really say is, hey, you're making mom nervous, can you stop? And they will settle down. Because a lot of when I feel like I am already anxious, my kids running around and screaming and jumping off everything they see makes it 10 times worse. And if they settle down, that helps my anxiety immensely. I kind of feel like I can kind of gain a little bit more stability in my head. So that's why I communicate with them, hey, I'm feeling a bit nervous. Can you settle down? And they actually do for, a couple seconds or a minute max. But honestly, that's all it takes most of the time. So communicate with your kids. Communicating with your partner is a huge thing. Hopefully if you have like a supportive partner that understands that this is a big issue for you, they'll be a little more supportive. And if you tell them, hey, I'm feeling anxious, they will be, kind of like helpful. Like, what can I do? Do you want me to take the kids over here? Do you want me to get a drink for you? Do you want me to like stop talking for a minute? Or something like that. And if you don't have a partner or a submissive partner, then you got to do the best that you can with what you have. So that's totally understandable too, but as long as you're giving it your best to communicate with who you can, I feel like that's great. Now, I don't want to push you outside of your comfort zone. If you don't want to talk about it with someone, then you don't want to talk about it and you don't feel comfortable. But I do feel like communicating, especially when it comes to mental health, is a huge building block in any kind of relationship that you wish to form. And another one, which is definitely my favorite one, is to keep a schedule. If you're someone like me who has anxiety based off of like control or lack of control, keeping a schedule and maintaining that schedule will help you a lot. I know that this was huge for me. If I know that I am going to start making dinner at like 5:30 and I'm going to start planning it at 5, I don't have to think about dinner for the rest of the day until 5 o'clock. Or if I have a meeting at 2 and I'm going to start planning it at 1:30, I'm not going to overthink about that meeting. I'm not going to worry about that meeting until 1:30. That clears so much space in my head, and I know that if I am doing something and a thought creeps up about the meeting or dinner, I'm gonna be like, no, not right now. I'm not gonna worry about it right now. I'll wait until 1:30 or 5 or whatever time that you have scheduled to think about that. And I know it sounds crazy, but I would definitely recommend scheduling time to think about certain situations. For me, if I don't do that, I find myself thinking about things that I don't really need to be thinking about at the moment. And then I'm kind of like not doing anything fully because I'm kind of doing it, but kind of thinking about this. And it just makes things so much easier when I can just tell myself, I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'll worry about that in a couple hours, or I'll think about that in a couple hours. And scheduling the time that I get up, I make sure that I have about half hour for me, whether that's praying, meditating, just some breathing, planning out my day. That is also very important. I feel like if I don't have that me time in the morning and the kids are up when I'm up, it kind of just like, it's a little crazy during the rest of the day. I kind of feel like I have no control over anything, and that's not good. So I love to keep a schedule. I like to know what is coming throughout my day and when it's coming. And the next one is to be invested in yourself. If you feel like you can handle the day better with your hair and makeup done, do your hair and makeup. If you feel like you want to have something for lunch but your kids don't want to have that, make what you want to make, and of course make something for your kids, but just don't put yourself on the back burner because you don't have the time or you don't have the energy for it. Just do what makes you happy, and the next two tips have a lot to do with that, which are to drink water and exercise. If you really want to get better, and if you feel like these two things are going to help you, you're going to have to make that a priority, even if you don't feel like doing it. And if you know that you're going to feel better after you do it, you have to stick to it. And I know it's tough. Believe me, the working out part, there are some days where I'm just like, I don't want to, or I don't have the time. I could be doing, this during that time, or I could be doing this, or I could be resting or something like that. But after I do it and after I get through it, I feel so much better. So much better. And it has so many benefits other than just clearing my mind. It helps with my body. It helps with kind of clearing my space, helps release some endorphins. It's so good. I feel so much better afterwards. And that's something that comes with being invested in yourself, because honestly, when it comes down to it, I could be folding laundry instead of working out, or I could be planning dinner instead of working out, or playing with my kids or something like that. But that's something that I do for me and that I make sure I take care of every single day, because if I don't do that, I know I'm going to feel pretty off the rest of the day. Drinking water, that is pretty important when it comes to maintaining a lot of things physically, but also mentally. Some tips with that: drinking water is like my thing. Like, if anything is wrong with anybody, I'm like, are you drinking water? So that is a huge part of my life. My kids keep breaking my bottles, but this is my latest one. I like that it has, I need a straw. I just feel like I can drink it better when I have a straw. And this keeps it clean. It keeps it from spilling all over the place. It's pretty big, so I don't have to keep going to the fridge often. I just have some cucumbers and water in here that I just take sips of whenever I can, whenever I see it. I do feel like the prettier it is, the more likely I am to reach for it and take a drink. So I do kind of put it towards like my aesthetic. I know that if I had one that was just like clear, and it was like very, very like boring looking, and I just didn't use it as much, and I also wasn't that heartbroken when my kids broke it. But yeah, drinking water goes into being invested in yourself, doing something for you. You can't, I mean, you could tell your kids to go get you water, but I mean, mine are 3 and 5. They're not going to do that. So that's something that I do for me. I cut up the cucumbers and watermelons even when I don't feel like doing it, or washing the dishes of the knife and the cutting board. I do it because I know that I'm going to feel better about it later. And those are some things that you just really have to stick to, and you have to prioritize, because when it comes down to it, it's those little things that are going to make your day flow a little bit easier. And those were my tips. I hope that was helpful to someone out there. This is like my tribe, my niche, like the moms with anxiety, young moms with anxiety. These are my people, because I am one of them, and this was like the video that made me want to start my YouTube channel. So I'm just really glad that I was able to do it. Please leave a comment below. Tell me how you like it. Tell me if you want to see a particular subject up next. Like the video if you did like it, and subscribe if you feel like this is something that you want to see a little bit more of. I can make like probably 10 more of these videos, to be honest. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.